You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Clean Truth. Now, it's been a little bit. We had to take a little bit of time off. I don't know how much of you guys have been paying attention, but we had a major hurricane blow through the Carolinas, so
Flo came to visit.
had to take a little bit of a hiatus from the episodes here. Got my wife sitting here next to me. Say hi.
Hey guys, sidekick, right?
Sidekick, whatever. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, welcome. If it's not, thank you guys. Welcome back. Thanks for coming back and listening again. We've got a couple new outlets to find the podcast on now. Obviously, we can do, you can find it on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. We've also launched, I've mentioned this before, we just launched everybodyfits.com. So all the podcast episodes, you'll be able to find them on there. Another thing I wanted to bring up real quick and talk about is we launched a new YouTube series. Evonne and I get asked quite a bit, like, what's it like to run a franchise company? How do you guys do what you do all the time? And, we don't ever have a good answer for that. So we thought about it one day and we were like, well, why don't we just start showing them? So, we started collecting all the video content from everywhere we go. If we go to a store or, really just about anything we do, it's kind of like a day in the life series, like a behind the scenes thing. So check that out on YouTube. We've got the first episode up on there where we went to Myrtle Beach. We'll have a couple new episodes coming out here real soon. We've got 3 or 4 in the works that should be coming out pretty soon. Also, another thing to try to look out for and follow is, I'm calling it Red's Journey, or what do we call that? Defeating Depletion was the series.
Defeating Depletion is how I think from it. Brain fog.
Do you want to explain that?
Sure. So about 6 weeks ago, I went in to see a hormone specialist and did some lab work and found out that all of my hormones are off, my thyroid, adrenals, and so I'm trying to show people how to get back on track if this is something. A lot of people have reached out to me, and it's been like the symptoms that I've talked about is some of that other people are dealing with: weight gain, the brain fog, depression, thickening of your skin. So anyway, if these sound like anything that you're going through, reach out to me or watch the video on Instagram. I think it is, right? YouTube? Instagram? I don't know where it's at.
You don't know where your own program is?
No,
Come
I'm
on,
not
lady.
the social media person.
It's everywhere. It's on all platforms: Facebook, Instagram. I think we're putting some of it on YouTube. It'll be everywhere. So getting to the topic today, we just wanted to kind of share our experience with the hurricane, what we did, how we dealt with it, what our emotions are about it, and then what we're doing now. That's really all it was. It was just we just wanted to share that with everybody. But before I get into that, I'm going to tell you guys this is how transparent we are. If you guys watch this on video, we're actually sitting in front of 3 microphones. There's only one working. I just thought it would look cool and
I was
look
like,
official.
I was starting to speak into
We bought
the
these
one.
cool little new microphones, but we don't have the right adapter. I was an asshole and didn't buy the right adapter for them. So we look official, but we're using one microphone. So
Okay.
anyway, getting back to the hurricane. I actually found out about the hurricane on Sunday, the Sunday before. I had no idea that a hurricane was even coming until her and I went to Best Buy to get a couple computers, one for our daughter and then one for, an employee. And I'm standing there and I'm trying to look at these computers, and this sweet old lady who happened to be the one that owned the blockade runner here on Wrightsville Beach, kind of heard my conversation with the sales guy, and she yacked my ear off for about an hour about a hurricane. She was sweet, really, really sweet, but I damn sure got all of the down low on what to do when a hurricane comes and what not to do. So it actually helped. She was sweet. And then I started freaking out. I'm like, man, we're actually going to get hit with a hurricane because we've been here, 6 years, and 2 of them came and gone, and they just kind of barely missed us. So we didn't really actually experience, what one could actually do and the power of it. So, you were actually kind of taking it lightly. You thought we were just going to kind of skip out of here on a rainbow on a unicorn and
Well, if
shoot arrows at
anybody,
it.
yeah, well, if anybody knows Don, like he always is that person who goes above and beyond on anything. So if he has a cold, it's like, a serious illness. If we, it's just always escalated with him. So I take him very lightly. So
Whatever.
So yes, we were sitting in where do we go? Home Depot, and we're debating whether we should get plywood to put on our windows. And I'm mad because I don't want him to like buy the plywood because I think it's another one of his things where he's over exaggerating this whole situation.
Yeah, she was like pissed because I bought $200 worth of plywood.
It wasn't about the money. It was about like, now I have to go load this plywood up, unload the plywood. Where are we going to put the plywood? And then you're going to like drill holes through the house to hang plywood. And at that time, it was like way out there in the ocean. They didn't know if it was going to hit. It was like, too early to tell what direction it was going. And I'm like,
But here's the funny thing. So we buy this plywood, right? I take it home. And as we're pulling in the driveway, there's a crew of contractors right next door to our house, boarding the shit out of this neighbor's house. And I'm like, huh. Yeah. and then I think that's when you kind of like, okay, maybe we should do this.
I was like, well, everyone's kind of taking this serious. But since being down here on, Wilmington, when the news people show up, I mean, everything gets over exaggerated, So the last two that we've gone through, our parents were scared to death, but it was like a thunderstorm.
One of them was our wedding.
Yeah, but it was like, it was just rain. It was a little bit of wind. Like, it wasn't nothing big. And from the Weather Channel, it looked like, they're hanging on for dear life. And I'm just like, my parents would call me like, it's fine here. It's not that bad. So anyway, I just thought that they were blowing everything out of proportion. So my bad. Glad I was wrong.
So we got our house taken care of and did everything we needed to do there. And then we were trying to figure out, okay, well, where are we going to go? I didn't want to load up everything and take it all the way back to St. Louis. I just wanted to go inland a little bit. So some really good friends of ours, Tony Cowden and Melissa Hoff, which we owe a big thank you to. Thank you guys very much for
Thank you.
taking us in and letting us stay out on their farm. We were about 50 miles from Wilmington, but it was fun. It was an adventure, and when we got to the farm, we were like, man, this is going to be cool to hang out on the farm. Reminds us back home a little bit. There was donkeys, and
Gracie was happy.
We immediately jumped on projects. I think Melissa put us to work.
She put us to work, man. Like, we were like mending fences. We
boarded up
the donkey house. We were repairing some gates. I mean, yeah, she put us to work. We were doing all kinds of repairs.
It was cool, though,
it was
because
cool.
it kept our mind off of, worrying and stressing out about what's going to happen. It just kind of kept us busy. And I think we were good there.
Wednesday.
We lost power Thursday night, I think, from the storm. And I remember we were staying in their guest house behind the farmhouse there. And the first night we got there Wednesday, they have air conditioning up there, and we froze.
Yeah,
I remember we were like so cold. And I remembered that day all week. Because Thursday night we lost power, and it was like a sauna in there.
It was hot, really hot.
But yeah, we lost power Thursday night. I mean, I don't think we ever got it back until we left the farm. Melissa wound up getting it back the next day. But sleeping in the heat for 4 or 5 days. Again, I have no reason to complain. I'm not complaining, but it was just, that's where we were. We listened to it rain consistently for 4 days, over and over.
Thought the roof was going to blow off from the wind. So it felt like the entire structure was going to I couldn't believe Mother Nature and how strong the wind was. Like, from being 50 miles
I've never
inland
experienced anything like that. I've never seen a storm like that. I mean, we got bad thunderstorms back home and tornadoes, but tornadoes, you can see them and then they go away. They don't stick around and sit right on top of you for 4 days the way this did. But
those guys back in the Midwest too, like the tornadoes, like you have about an hour to prepare, not even an hour, like you have minutes to prepare for a tornado, but with the hurricane, like we had 5 days to prepare, which I think just stresses you out
Yeah,
even
it gives you anxiety.
yeah, further because you have 5 days to prepare, but you don't know what's coming. With the tornado, man, it just lands and you just deal with it, So a little bit different, I guess, stress.
I think the biggest scare for us was after the storm. I think it was Monday afternoon. Arnold, our bulldog, who a lot of you guys have seen and are aware of, he really overheated. We actually thought he was going to die. We had him in the backyard. They have a little fenced-in backyard where they keep their dogs, and he was completely fine that morning. He was running around playing with the dogs, completely normal. They all had, they all had this big trough of water they could drink out of. I just think that Arnold's only 6 inches tall, so I don't know if he didn't see. I don't know. He got really dehydrated and overheated, and
we weren't paying attention to him.
Yeah, I mean, because they were pinned up in the backyard, they were fine. So Gracie went back to get something out of the apartment and happened to walk up on him, and she yelled our name. We came running back there, and he was laying there on his stomach. His mouth was purple, his tongue was hanging out. He was drooling and laying in his own vomit, and so we kind of snatched him up real quick and put him in a horse trough next to the barn. And
well, we brought him onto the porch and put cold rags around him and tried to get him to drink a little bit of water and was put in some mouth. And Melissa hurried up and Googled on thing because I'm like, it's like he's got a fever. We got to, get him cooled down. So we're like, oh, Don had taken the trash out that day. And he's like, there's a big trough behind the barn that's full of water. Let's go there. So we went, threw him back there, and he probably sat in that water for like
almost an hour, cooling him off.
And he was so hot that he was heating the water back up, and like he couldn't walk. He was lethargic. I mean, it was
really scary. We thought we were going to lose him, but he wound up coming back. He came to and was fine. He ate some food, was going to the bathroom, and then that night, I woke up in the middle of the night sweating, and that's when I heard him breathing. He was like gasping for air. He couldn't even breathe then, and so we turned the air conditioner on in the car and put him in there, and he fell right asleep. And then the next morning, I told Evonne, I said, if we don't get him off of this farm, he's not going to make it through the day because there's nowhere for him to go. And, we didn't have the gas to leave the car running all day and keep him in there. So we kind of made the decision that I was going to go back to Wilmington and try to get him at a friend of ours' house in the air conditioning. And, thank you to the Valentinos for taking me in that night and letting me and Arnold crash there and so he could have a cool place to sleep so he didn't keel over. So I was back in Wilmington on that Monday. And I got to be honest with you guys, I've never experienced a hurricane. And some of the things that I saw when I came back into town was devastating. I mean, it seriously looked like a war zone driving through town. Down power lines, down trees, homes flooded. It was pretty harsh. It was pretty devastating to look at. Some friends of ours had down trees on their house that we wound up helping them, that over through the next couple of days, we helped them clean that up and get the limbs off of their houses and stuff like that. But what day did you come back? You came back Tuesday?
Mm-hmm.
She was able to come back Tuesday,
So
and luckily you did that day because that's when 421 flooded back over, and she would have never been able to make it back until a couple of days from then. But so we spent the next few days just cleaning up and getting our house put back together, and we were very, very, very lucky and very fortunate. Our house didn't sustain any damage. We lost a few pieces of siding, but I mean that's about it. Our businesses, thank the Lord above, was fine too. We got a few leaks here and there, but nothing too tragic. We did lose the food at both restaurants, which
donated or try to get people to pick it up. And
yeah, I mean we donated the food, the prepackaged meals that we had. We donated to all the Wilmington and Wrightsville Beach first responders. I gave a friend of ours the key, and they just went in there and took them so they could have clean food to eat through the storm and through the aiding of others. But where's I going with that? The restaurants. So we lost all the food and the inventory in the restaurants after the storm, and I don't know if you guys have ever cleaned up rotten food that has been sitting in a cooler for 7 days with no air conditioning, but that was rancid. But we made it out okay. Moral of the story is we got very fortunate. We were very lucky. our thoughts and prayers are with those that didn't. There's still thousands of people whose homes flooded, trees fell on their house. We're definitely, our thoughts and prayers are with all of you guys.
Wilmington strong.
Yeah. So that was pretty much our hurricane experience. It wasn't too fascinating, wasn't too exciting, and I'm actually very grateful and fortunate for that it wasn't.
And this is the one time where you prepared, I guess, accordingly.
Yeah. My pre-prep helped. Huh?
Your pre-prep help, yeah.
So anyway, we just wanted to share that with you guys. That was our, the first time that her and I have ever been through something like this. So we just wanted to kind of share it with you. And yeah. Until next time. Thank you guys.